Welcome to this video. My name is Christian from Beyond Premiere, and this is The Boys, the complete timeline from Season 1 to Season 2. The beginning of the timeline begins with the life of Frederick Vought, a renowned young geneticist who obtained his medical degree in Munich. By 1933, at the age of 14, Klara was seen to be in social gatherings of the National Socialist German Workers' Party, including Adolf Hitler, Heinrich Himmler, and Joseph Goebbels. In March of 1939, Adolf Hitler named Frederick the camp-shaped doctor. Now, Vought's position at Dachau gave him access to living test subjects who had previously tested his early Compound B prototypes. It's during this period where he met Stormfront, who became his wife, and named her daughter Chloe. Frederick injected Compound B into his wife at some point, making her the first successful test subject of Compound B. Vought's faith in the Nazis' ability to win the war began to deteriorate soon after, and he switched sides. While Dr. Oppenheimer was still developing the atomic bomb, Dr. Edward Vought created a field-tested variation of Compound B. During this time where Soldier Boy and other heroes were born as a result of Vought's serum, which allowed Nazi troops to be overpowered. Vought's contribution to the Allied victory was so significant that the President Roosevelt chose to pardon him. He subsequently went on to found Vought International and became a fixture in American society. Vought published his autobiography years after the war, when he was a prominent figure in American history. After moving to America with her husband as part of the Operation Paperclip at the end of World War II, when the US government took in leading Nazi scientists, Klara operated under the moniker of Liberty as early as the 1970s. During this time, she committed at least one racially motivated murder. During the year 1971, Vought has charities to smuggle Compound B and make super babies. In 1972, Liberty stopped a black man named Myron Hunter. When Valerie was 11, her older brother Myron was driving her in the rain when their car was stopped by Liberty. Liberty forced Myron out of the car and began accusing him of being involved in a robbery. Myron denied the claims, so Liberty beat him in an attempt to get him to confess. Valerie awoke from the back seat and saw Myron beg Liberty to stop, to which Liberty proceeded to break his jaw and leave him dead on the hood of the car. At some point during this time, Klara was a member of the Church of the Collective, but left after they became racially inclusive. As Liberty, she took part in commercial endorsement for Budweiser beer and Adam Breeze family hygiene products. It's unknown where she was and what she did all those years. It can be assumed that Vought gave her at least one other superhero moniker between 1979 and 2020. Sam Edgar, who took over as CEO after Vought died, could cover up many deaths caused by the soups. However, Compound B is shielded from the public, but they are led to believe that the soups are biologically gifted and chosen by God. It's during this time where Samaritan and Brace deliver the Compound B across the United States as medical products. We go back to 1994, where Homelander was created in a lab and grown among doctors like Jonah Bolgenbaum. Bolgenbaum stated that Homelander turned violent, aggressive, and worst of all, hateful because he did not have a mother-like figure. He spent hours in front of a projector viewing images selected to shape his characters, such as the American flag, Jesus Christ, and baseball. When he was young, innocent, and unaware, his mother-like figure was slain by Homelander himself when he hugged her too tightly. Before her death, he had aroused numerous other tutors for similar reasons, usually in response to anger, but at this time as a result of the isolation that depression caused him. We jump to 2011, where Becca was the senior director of the digital marketing at Vought International, where she worked to increase interest in Vought's social media sites. At a Christmas party in 2011, Becca introduced her spouse Billy to Homelander. Homelander greeted Billy, and Becca was thanked for her work to his Twitter profile. A few days after the party, Becca met Homelander in a private room to discuss his Twitter profile, where he assaulted her. After the night, Becca was concerned about how to deal with the situation, so she went to Vought for assistance on January 24, 2012. She stated that she was expecting Homelander's kid. Madeline Stillwell and Jonah Bolgenbaum oversaw the operation. She was forced to sign a form that prohibited her from informing anybody about the surgery, not even her spouse. Becca gave birth to a baby boy and was permitted to raise him in seclusion, even though everyone thought she had vanished or died. During the next 8 years, Becca took care of her son Ryan alone and unbothered by Homelander or anybody else from the outside. But rises during this period and soups are marketed. During the year 2012 to 2014, 5 years before the series events happened, Grace Mallory approached Busher, showing him CCTV footage of his wife and Homelander Homelander together at 7 Tower. Although we're not told much about Grace's history or why she began hunting superheroes, it is known she was the one who sparked William's Butcher's desire for vengeance against superheroes, giving him information about what happened with Homelander and his wife, and how Vought International was involved with her disappearance. She collaborated with the Butcher on The Boys, which they launched in 2012, and ran for an unknown length of time until 2015. During this time, the original version of The Boys in 2015, under the CIA supervision, tried to coerce Lamplighter into spying on the Seven by trying to release footage of him committing an unknown crime. Although Lamplighter agrees to the terms, Mallory is suspicious and has Frenchie tell him after the meeting. What happened is that he had to leave and returned 30 minutes later. During this time, Lamplighter had already gone and followed Mallory to her hotel room, burning her grandchildren to death by mistake, believing that Mallory was in the bed instead. After this event, she abandoned the path of retribution and she went into the woods to pursue bird watching. Butcher's legacy may continue whether she wants it or not, even if her desire for vengeance is supposedly gone. And there's time where we jump to 2019, where the events of the first season happen. Now, The Voice takes place in a world where superheroes are regarded as heroes by the general public and work for Vought International, which markets and monetizes them. Outside of their custom personas, most are conceited and corrupt. The series follows two teams: of Vought best superhero team, the Seven, and the Boys, who seek to bring down Vought and his corrupt superheroes. The Seven are led by the crazy and violent Homelander, while the Boys are directed by Billy Butcher, who despises all superpowered people. After his girlfriend Robin is killed in a high-velocity collision with celebrity superhero A-Train, Hugh or Huey Campbell suffers mental anguish. The attorneys settle for $45,000 and Huey declines the offer. Annie January tries out for Starlight, the Lamplighter's replacement, and is accepted into the superhero group, the Seven. She's greeted by the Deep, who blackmail her as she arrives at the Seven headquarters, and vigilante Billy Butcher invites Huey to join the Boys and show him video footage of A-Train laughing at Robin's death, after which he offers him a chance to reveal superhero corruption. Butcher asks Huey to take the settlement money and conceal a bug at 7th Tower, but Huey refused initially. In Central Park, Annie and Huey meet by chance and encourage one another to face their problems. Huey plants the bug, but Translucent finds out about it and has a confrontation with him. Butcher comes in and to assist Huey in subduing Translucent, and Homelander destroys Baltimore's mayor's plane while it's in flight in response to the mayor blackmailing Vought. What happened next is that Translucent is taken to his former partner Frenchie, who creates a meta bullet to pierce the hero's diamond hard skin, but it fails to kill him. Butcher seeks out CIA department head Susan Raynor for Mallory files, but she refuses. Madeleine Stillwell, vice president of Vought DP, tells Homelander about evidence that she had discovered incriminating him for the plane accident. During the meeting, the Deep and Homelander meet at the 7th Tower, and Homelander asks the Deep why he fled to Stillwell, revealing what he had seen during the mayor's flight. Homelander utilized this opportunity as a pseudo threat to warn the Deep that the conversation should never happen again, to which he agrees. Stillwell turns to shapeshifter super doppelganger, who she uses to pressure Senator Calhoun into allowing a vote that will allow Vought to enlist superheroes in the military. Working with the Deep, Starlight vows to kill him if he tries to sexually assault her again. She stops an assault later, unaware she was recorded. Ashley, her agent, scolds her for potentially causing adverse publicity and legal ramifications, while Homelander searches for Translucent. Frenchie decides to implant C4 explosive in his colon. Translucent, fear about this, tells them that A-Train was his girlfriend Popclaw before he murdered Robin. The Boys learn that Homelander is nearby, so they cannot risk blowing up Translucent, while Butcher and Frenchie create a diversion elsewhere by setting up another blast. Translucent escapes his cage and persuades Huey to let him go, but he reversed this decision and set off the C4 explosive, killing Translucent. Huey leaves his father after telling him how he truly feels, and Starlight receives positive media attention for stopping this assault, but she later finds out that Stillwell wants her to wear a revealing outfit. Stillwell coerces her into doing so even though she refuses, afraid of losing her job. Mother's Milk is brought to run surveillance on Popclaw by Huey installing spyware on her computer. They discover that A-Train takes a drug called Compound B, something that we talked earlier. Butcher wants to expose them before superhumans may be allowed into the United States Armed Forces, but he needs a vial of Compound B from A-Train, coming raised with another speedster. Huey meets Annie for lunch where they speak frankly with each other, and A-Train uses Compound B to win and then announce that he's single trouble breaking his promise to Popclaw to reveal their relationship. Butcher uses to extort Popclaw as a spy. Homelander delivers translucent remains and Butcher's warning, coming for you, to Stilwell at Butt's headquarters. Now the boys discover a tried hideout and find an imprisoned Japanese woman named the Female while following Popclaw's advice. Frenchie frees her and she kills the guard before fleeing, while Mother's Milk finds proof she was a test subject. Huey goes bowling with Starlight and uses her phone to bug her at Butcher's request. Butcher meets with Susan Raynor, telling him that he can stop the soup from getting into the military. Raynor says that she doesn't care, and Billy shows Susan images of Popclaw and A-Train injecting Compound B. However, she dismisses him given the lack of a sample. Susan tells Billy that she will reward him if he can get proof. Adrian sends Popclaw into hiding while he looks for the female after the Compound B supply is jeopardized. Stilwell sends Homelander and equip Maeve to rescue a hijacked aircraft, but after he inadvertently destroys the control panel, Homelander abandons the plane and his passengers, forcing Maeve to depart with him before she can save them. After the female kills a woman connected to her captors, Frenchie follows her to Penn Station and makes a brief connection with her before leaving her in the crowd. Just as A-Train approaches and attempts to murder her, Frenchie draws attention away from A-Train so that the female may flee. The woman is ambushed by the boys, but she attacks them before Butcher unleashes knockout gas, and Stilwell is pleased to see Homelander utilize the airplane disaster to advocate for military soups. A speech that roused the crowd while Maeve grieves over those she and Homelander let perish. Now, during the Believe Expo, Starlight is sent to push Boss' agenda, and Butcher has Huey meet Ezekiel, the event's host, and their next lead using Starlight. Maeve feels terrible for having let the plane go down and goes to see her ex-girlfriend Elena, but before she explains herself completely, she flees. Butcher discusses placing a tombstone on his wife Becca with his sister-in-law, but he refuses. After A-Train kills Popclaw for turning on him, he goes to her apartment and finds video surveillance on Frenchie. When Ezekiel is alone, Huey extorts him for information about Compound B. A Homelander leads the crowd with an impromptu with a hardline speech. Starlight leaves the confines of her scripted script to talk frankly about Christianity, sexual assault, and the compromises she made for her corporate employer. Later, Huey sympathized with her, telling her about Robin's death and how it affected him. Butcher and Mother's Milk discover that Bot is using Compound B on newborns to produce soups years ahead of schedule in a hospital. French discovers Black Noir is looking for him and he tries to flee when told to leave the female behind. Nevertheless, he releases her out of compassion. She appears to Perry, shielding him from Black Noir, but quickly heals, which actually fires. Stillwell demands Annie to comply with her design image, but she refuses, remarking that firing her after reporting a sexual assault would hurt Boss' image. Aware was a deep, Stillwell has him publicly apologize and transfer him to Sandusky, Ohio for a sabbatical. Butcher brings Huey to a superhuman survivor support group, but leaves after yelling at them for doing nothing to get justice. Butcher later tells Huey what happened with his wife, who went missing shortly afterward. Frenchie and Mother's Milk get help from the telepath Mesmer to see into the female's mind, learning her that her name is Kimiko, and she was kidnapped by the Shining Light Liberation Army terrorist group. They also learned that Bot is making Compound B boosted terrorists to push their agenda for militarizing soups. Butcher tells Raynor, but when she refuses to target Homelander, he calls off the deal. Mesmer gives Homelander surveillance photos of the boys, and Butcher finds out about Huey and Annie, warning him to not fraternize with the enemy and threatening to tell her about Translucent. Now Huey and Annie have sex at a hotel, and where Butcher has followed them. A depressed Dee finds this transferred to Sandusky Dole and is sexually assaulted by a fangirl, holding a meeting discussing Huey killing Translucent, extorting the Ezekiel, and A-Train killing Robin. Homelander accused Starlight of co-conspiracy, but Maeve defends her. When A-Train calls Huey, claiming he's holding his dad hostage, the boys deduce Mesmer betrayed them, for which Butcher later murders him. Huey obtained Compound B to distract A-Train and allow Kimiko to cripple him. Homelander asks Bot scientist Dr. Joanna Bolgenbaum about Becca, who informs him she was pregnant with his child, but claims both died and Bot covered it up. Questioning their relation timing, Bolgenbaum expressed regret raising him in a lab, calling Homelander his greatest failure. Butcher asks Raynor to protect Huey and Mother's Milk's family in exchange for evidence. As Raynor charges Stillwell and Bot, she learns of the superhuman group called Nakib. Annie confronts Huey, who explains Bot's use of Compound B, before Butcher arrives to exile and choose her. At the end of the first season, the Pentagon classified Compound B as a controlled substance and the boys as fugitive, while Annie confronts her mother. Angry at being racially profiled while out of the costume, and injured A-Train relapsed with Compound B. Butcher tracks Huey to Colonel Grace Mallory, who refused participation, but informs them about Homelander's connection to Stillwell and warns Huey about Butcher's desire for vengeance. The Deep learns Stillwell has denied his return to the Seven and suffers an emotional breakdown. Huey leaves to ask for Annie's help, but she refuses out of distrust. After seeing her old self reflected in her, Maeve opened up to Starlight, asking her to be herself. Homelander confesses to Stillwell that he secretly made the super tourist and they have sex. At the black side, Huey helps Frenchie and Mother's Milk free Kimiko before Starlight rescues them. Adrian arrives and brutally fights Starlight until he suffers a heart attack. Huey applies CPR, but Starlight takes over so he can escape. Butcher takes Silver hostage and fits her with explosions to bait Homelander, who, after revealing he turned a Bolgan bomb for the truth about Becca, kills Silver himself. Butcher detonates the explosive, but Homelander saves him and reveals to him that Becca has been hiding away to raise Homelander's son. This jump into the year 2020, where the events of the second season happen. Now the boys become wanted fugitive with Butcher's friend for Silver's murder. In hiding together, Huey, Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko learn that a superpowered terrorist with telekinetic abilities is on the loose. They attempt to inform Raynor, but she's killed by an unknown assassin. Against Huey's wishes, Frenchie contacts Butcher to lead the boys in facing the new threats. Huey and Annie extort Bot to test subject Gecko into stealing a Compound B sample. Homelander's power out Bot is challenged when CEO Stan Edgar has superhero Stormfront join the Seven without his approval. When Homelander fails to intimidate Edgar, he returns to Becca's house to see Ryan. This is where the Deep joins Alistair at Dennis Church of the Collective in an attempt to regain favor with the Seven. Now Butcher arranged a deal with Mallory to capture the superpowered terrorist in exchange for Mallory finding Becca's location. The boys later learn that the terrorist is Kimiko's younger brother Kenji, whom they managed to subdue. A-Train's trying to expose Annie's involvement with the boys, but Annie countered with the knowledge that he murdered Pop Cloud. Homelander forces himself into the secluded facility Becca and Ryan are living so he can become a father figure to his son and teach him about his powers. Drugged by the Church of the Collective, the Deep hallucinate his skills and encourage him to believe himself, and Maeve tells Elena she fears Homelander will kill her if he finds out about the relationship. Homelander pushed Ryan into using his powers, which culminates in Ryan attacking Homelander to protect Becca. Using the sample she acquired from Gecko, Annie secretly leaks the Compound B, responsible for giving superheroes their powers. Edgar responds by sending the Seven after Kenji when he's spotted by the police. The boys attempt to bring Kenji to a CIA safe house, but the Seven's arrival results in Kenji escaping. Disobeying Homelander's orders, Stormfront kills Kenji, slaughtering several minority civilians in her pursuit, and frames Kenji for their death. Edgar uses destruction to argue that superheroes are necessary to prevent such incidents, while casting Compound B as a work of rogue scientists led by Stillwell. Now Mallory provides Butcher with information on a superhero called Liberty and Becca's location. Butcher infiltrates the facility, but Becca refuses to leave because he does not accept Ryan. Now Black Noir discovers Butcher's infiltration. Threatened by Homelander, Annie joins Huey and Mother's Milk investigating Liberty. She discovered that Liberty is Stormfront, who committed racist murder in the 70s. Homelander, growing more unstable from Stormfront, usurping his popularity, he removes the especially wicked A-Train from the Seven and now has made a relationship with Elena. Frenchie reveals his efforts to protect Kimiko are motivated by guilt over his past crimes, and the Church of the Collective enter the Deep in an arranged marriage. Now protests emerge against Homelander when a video of him killing a civilian surfaces. Stormfront helps Homelander regain popularity and the two enter a sexual relationship, and Butcher plots his retirement at his aunt's Judith's house after failing to rescue Becca, prompting Huey and Mother's Milk to intervene. The three are attacked by Black Noir, but Butcher has Edgar call him off by trying to release information on Ryan, and he discovers Stormfront has been in contact with Edgar regarding the Sage Grove Physiatric Hospital. A confrontation between Annie and Stormfront ensues over the former leaking Compound B to the public. Maeve reveals to Elena that she's planning Homelander's downfall and recruits the Deep to assist her. Infiltrating Sage Grove, Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Kimiko discover captive Compound B patients. Frenchie recognized as an early as Lamplighter, causing a scuffle that allowed patients to break out. Forced to work together, the boys learned from Lamplighter that Bot is attempting to stabilize Compound B in adult subjects. Lamplighter is spared by the Mallory and Frenchie's behests over his remorse for killing her grandchildren, and Stormfront tells Homelander she's the first successful Compound B subject and founder Frederick Vought's widow, wanting him to lead the superpower toward domination. Maeve obtains a video of Homelander abandoning the plane as leverage against him. An unstable patient Cindy escaped from Sage Grove, and we see how A-Train as well is lured into the Church of the Collective. During this, we also meet Congresswoman Victoria Newman, who schedules a hearing against Bot, with Lamplighter as a chief witness. After Bot uncovers Annie's betrayal, Huey convinced Lamplighter to join him in a rescue attempt, which results in the latter immolating himself. Annie escaped with the help of Maeve, who subdues Black Noir. Despite the loss of Lamplighter, Bush's Drunk's armed for a Bolgan bomb into testifying against Bot. However, the hearing is attacked by the assassin who killed Raynor, resulting in the death of Bomb and others. Meanwhile, Homelander Stormfront manipulate Ryan into leaving Becca, and A-Train grows suspicions of the Church of the Collective. Maeve and Elena break up over the former falling to save the airliner. At the end of the first season, learning from Becca about Ryan's capture, Butcher makes a deal with Edgar to help Vought reclaim him at Homelander's cabin. However, Butcher reneges of the deal and attempts to save Becca and Ryan from Stormfront. When Stormfront attacks his mother, Ryan clubs her with his eye lasers, but accidentally kills Becca. Butcher forgets Ryan after the boys takes his side over Homelander, while Maeve uses the plane footage to force Homelander into letting them go. With Stormfront now past the leak, Edgar held his plan to sell Compound B, as the boys are cleared for all charges, and Annie is reinstated into the 7. Adana also has A-Train rejoin, but not the Deep, before the assassin kill Adana. Ryan is taken by the CIA, and Huey gets a job with Newman, unaware that he's the assassin. And that is the complete timeline so far in the first and second season of The Voice. What are your thoughts on the video? Leave your comments below. I appreciate you watching. The comments, I'm a small channel, so I appreciate your support. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Christian from Beyond Premiere, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, everyone.